All right. Good evening, everybody. What's going on? This your one and only girl, Tiffany French, coming through right here live in effect. So today I am going to be talking about a very important topic that was really dealing with a lot of racism, especially in the Deep South. So many people may forgot about this story because it took place back in 2006. It was a story about a Caucasian male, a Caucasian student from Jena, Louisiana, who accused six African Americans males of beating him and sending him to the hospital. So those six guys were charged with the attempted murder of a white student. All right. So here I have the story of how it all began and what happened, what took place. So make sure you go ahead and share this video, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell whenever I come on. All right. So please, thank you. All right, then let's go ahead and get started to the point. So let's look up the story about Jena Six. Well, we gonna begin right here. All right, Jena Six. As you can see, there's a lady out there with a petition. The sign say "Free the Jena Six." Sign the petition. So Jena Six were six black teenagers in Jena, Louisiana, convicted in 2006 of being Justin Barker, a white student at the local Jena High School, which they also attended. Barker was injured on December 4th of 2006 by the members of the Jena Six and received treatment at an emergency room. While the case was pending, it was often cited by some media commentators as an example of racial injustice in the United States. Some commentators believe the defendants had been charged initially with two serious offenses and had been treated unfairly. Now, I remember this story when I was about 17 I was about 17 years old when this story came about. All right. And I remember that like yesterday it wasn't, at that time, I wasn't really too much study on to like racial injustice like that. But I knew it was something fishy about the story. Like it didn't sound 100% right. You know what I'm saying? Especially what they was charged for and how many years they were going to serve in prison behind all of this. So let's go ahead and read and continue. It says, a number of events had taken place in and around Jena in the months before the Barker assault, which the media has associated with an alleged escalation of local racial tensions. These events include the hanging of rope nooses from a tree in the high school's courtyard, two violent confrontations between white and black youths, and the destruction by fire of the main building of Jena High School. Extensive news coverage related to Jena Six often reported these events as linked. Federal and parish attorneys concluded from their investigation that assessment was inaccurate for some of the events. For instance, the burning of high school was an attempt to destroy grade reports. So now let's look at the story. Six students: Robert Bailey, then age 17, Michael Bell, Carwin Jones, Bryant Purvis, Jesse Raybeard, and Theo Shaw were arrested in the assault of Baker. All right. Michael Bell was initially convicted as an adult of aggravated battery and conspiracy to commit aggravated battery. All right. His convictions were overturned on the grounds that he should have been tried as a juvenile before a retrial in juvenile court. Bell pleaded guilty to a reduced charge of simple battery. The other five defendants later pleaded no contest to the same offense and were convicted. It says the Jena Six case sparked protests by people who considered the arrest and subsequent charges, initially attempted second-degree murder, as excessive and racially discriminatory. The protester asserted that white Jena youths involved in similar incidents were treated more leniently. On September 20th, 2007, between 15,000 and 20,000 protesters marched on Jena in what was described as the largest civil rights demonstration in years. Related protests were held in other U.S. cities on the same day. Subsequent reaction includes songs alluding to Jena Six, numerous editorials and opinion columns, and congressional hearings. You know, when we talk about racial injustice and racism and all that great stuff, it's the same old song. You're singing the same old tune. Basically, that's all you're doing. You're singing the same old tune. It's the same song you're singing. It starts to become redundant because you hear it so much and it's not going to change much. It's not going to change the racial narrative of this country. It's not going to change how blacks are being viewed. Now, good thing that these brothers didn't spend the rest of their lives in prison, but the fact is you're still singing the same old song about racism. So that goes to show you that America is not really ready to change its structure. Because there has been similar stories in relation to things like this regarding to Jena Six. You will find similar stories later on down the line. So it goes to show you that America is not really tackling the issue of racism as it should. But let's go ahead and let's find some more information. Okay. Now, right here it says at Jena High School, about 10% of students are black and roughly 9% are white, reflecting the population of the town of Jena, which has about 3,000 people. Some early reporting indicated that students of different races seldom sat together, for instance, in the cafeteria, although this has been disputed. According to early reports of the school environment, black students went outside, typically sat on bleachers near the auditorium, while white students sat under a large tree in the center of the school courtyard, referred to as the white tree or prep tree. According to some of the school's teachers and administrators, the tree in question was not a white tree, and students of all races had sat under it at one time or another. At a school assembly held on August 31st of 2006, a black male freshman asked the principal whether he could sit under the tree. According to Donald Washington, a United States attorney for the Western District of Louisiana, the principal said the question was posed in a jocular fashion. The principal told the students they could sit wherever they want. CNN reported that the freshman and his friends sat under the tree. All right. It says the noose hanging. The following morning, students and staff discovered rope nooses hanging from the tree. Reports differs as to whether they were two or three nooses. A black teacher described seeing both white and black students playing with the nooses, pulling on them, jumping, swinging from them, and pulling their heads through them that same day. Craig Franklin, assistant editor of the Jena Times, said the nooses were hung as a prank by three students directed at white members of the school rodeo team. The school's investigation committee had concluded that the three young teens had no knowledge that nooses symbolized the terrible legacy of the lynchings of countless blacks in American history. The names of those who hung the nooses were not publicly disclosed. This is one of the reasons why we should fight to bring African American history into these public school system. All right. Only because kids could be properly educated on how the effects of racism had took place, especially when it came to African Americans. because their parents is not going to educate them on it, right? So if your parents not going to educate you, then who else going to do it? So who else is going to educate you? Who else is going to teach you about these things that you need to know? I mean, you have to start somewhere, right? You have to start somewhere. You have to speak on how the foundation of slavery started, even if it's a very painful topic to have. But you got to talk about it. You got to educate the students. See, you can't just educate it from a biased point of view. And that's where we're getting a lot of biased point of view. When we was in school, you didn't hear a lot about African American history. And that's fucked up. And if it came down to African American history, it was about Dr. King, Rosa Parks, just to name a few. Other than that, you didn't hear much about African American history. Not in its full context, because it's going to always be biased and it's going to always be some type of narrative centered around it. It's not going to be based on facts, evidence. It's going to be a little bit of details, right? Just a little bit of information that's compiled together, and the rest is ignored or sugarcoated. So let's go down to here and let's look at what took place with this little white boy. How did this white boy end up getting hurt or whatever? All right. So I'm on this article, right? It's called theguardian.com. It was written on May the 19th of 2007. It said Jena, about 220 miles north of New Orleans, is a small town, 3,000 people, 85% of whom are white. Tomorrow it will be the focus for a race trial, which could put it on the map alongside the bad old names of the Mississippi burning 60s, such as Selma of Montgomery, Alabama. Jena is gaining national notoriety as an example of the new Sikh racism, showing how lightly sleep the demons of racial prejudice in America's deep South, even in the year that a black man, Barack Obama, is a serious candidate for the White House. It began in Jena High School last August when Kenneth Purvis asked the head teacher if black students could break with a long-held tradition and join the whites who sits under the tree in the school courtyard doing breaks. The boy was told that he and his friend could sit where they liked. The following morning, white students had hung 3 nooses there. Bad taste, silly, just a prank was the response of most of Jena's whites. To us, those nooses mean the Ku Klux Klan. They meant, niggers, we're going to cure you. We're going to hang you till you die, say Castapella Bailey, a black community leader and mother of one of the accused. The 3 white perpetrators of what was seen as a race hate crime were given in-school suspension, sent to another school for a few days before returning. Jena's major industry is growing and marketing junk pine. Walk down the usually desert main street and you will not find many black employees. Bailey, 56, is a former Air Force officer and holder of a business management degree. I couldn't even get a job in Jena as a bank teller, she said. Look at the banks and the best white collar jobs and you'll see only white and rednecks in those collars. Bill Duckley, the local barber, has never cut men hair. They just don't come here, he mumbled. Anyways, their hair is different and difficult to cut. The majority of blacks live in an area known as Ward 10. Many homes are trailers or wooden shacks. Rubbish lies in the streets. On Snob Hill, where the whites live, the spacious gardens and lawns are trimmed. The gravel drives boasts SUVs and nice new saloons. Only two black families lived there. A teacher from Jena High had enough money to buy his way in, but when he arrived, local estate agents refused to show him a white property, even though several were advertised in the local paper. They're all under contract, the agent lied. The teacher eventually went to see one white owner and offered him cash. The guy preferred green dollars to black. So I got the property, laughed the teacher. But since we moved in 3 years ago, we haven't been invited by a single neighbor. Now let's go ahead and look at let's look at this. It says on November 30th, someone tried to burn Jena High to the ground. The crime remains unsolved. That same weekend, race fights between teenagers broke out downtown, and on December 4th, racial tension broiled over once more in the school. A white student, Justin Barker, was attacked allegedly by 6 black students. The expected charges of assault and battery was not laid, and the 6 were charged with attempted second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit second-degree murder. They now face a lifetime in jail. Barker spent the evening of the assault at the local Baptist church, where he was seen by friends to be his usual smiling self. It says 9 days later, with the case technically subject, the district attorney made the following public statement to the local paper: I will not tolerate this type of behavior. To those who act in this manner, I tell you that you will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, and will, with the harshest crime the facts justify. When you are convicted, I will seek the maximum penalty allowed by law. I will see to it that you never again menace the student at any school in this parish. Bail for the impoverished student was set absurdly high, and most have been held in custody. The town's mind seemed to be made up. But now, the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and the American Civil Union demand outsiders have become involved and have begun to recruit in schools and empower the local black population. Reporters from the BBC and the New York Times have been drawn to the story. Jena does not like this publicity and shifts uncomfortably in the glare. It is 42 years since President Lyndon Johnson closed the loopholes that allow southern states to discriminate against blacks. When the accused shuffle into court tomorrow, it's Jena that will be on trial. All right, so now that was the article that came out in 2007. Okay. So, as you can see, it was one of the most, how can I say? It was one of the most shocking cases because it happened to be a white boy who got beat up, who accused 6 black men to do so. And they were trying to give them life in prison, even try to give them the death penalty. Oh, the story goes on and on. Let's see what's the aftermath. All right, so let's look at the repercussion. A good evening, Snuggle. Well, let's look at the aftermath of this. What happened afterwards? There go the march. There your boy Al Sharpton. Yeah, he was there. Okay, so let's look at what they're doing now. Oh, it says here self-avowed white supremacist Richard Barrett at the September 20, 2007 Jena Six rally. It says on August the 6th, Judge Yeager terminated Beer's probation. He remained under the condition of his bail release in the Barker incident so he could attend the Canterbury School in Connecticut. Half of $39,900 annual tuition was paid for with Jena Six Defense Fund money. At Canterbury, Beard played on the basketball, baseball, and football team and graduated in 2010. On May 10th, Bell was stopped in Ola, Louisiana for speeding and not having proper vehicle insurance while on weekend pass from his sentence. In an interview televised on CNN on August 24, 2008, Bell admitted to have struck Barker in 2006 and described Jena as a real racist town. On August 27, 2008, the Louisiana High School Athletic Association turned down Bell's request for an extra year of athletic eligibility. Marcus Jones, Bell's father, blamed Bell's attorney at the time of the plea agreement for the denial. If it weren't for his attorney, Michael would be able to play football, Jones said. They coerced him into taking that plea agreement. If he wouldn't have taken that plea, he wouldn't be in the position he's in now. In 2014, Bell was attending Southern University in Baton Rouge. Robert Bailey attended high school at Shaw High School in Columbus, Georgia, where he was granted an extra year eligibility to play football. Theo Shaw was able to attend classes at another high school and had his credit transferred to Jena. He received a Jena High School diploma, although he took part in the graduation ceremony at another school. On June the 3rd, 2018, he graduated from the University of Washington School of Law, having received a full scholarship as a Gate Public Service Law Scholar. So they're pretty much doing okay. Sound like they're doing a little bit better, but one of them was ineligible to play sports because of the Jena situation and the fact that he took a plea deal with his attorney. So and So let's go ahead and play a video real fast that goes more into this story or the details of it. All right, this is from democracy.org. And anybody know democracy.org, they come up with great sources, reliable sources that's dealing with political issues, social issues, such as racism, sexism, and politics, and economics, and all that great stuff. So I like democracy.org. I think it's one of the great information that many can look into. Right, they do a lot of interviews with a lot of people that were activists in the communities and whatnot. So yeah, I would say democracy.org and what was it? Russia Today is another one. So, but check this out.
War and Peace.
Give me a second.
War and Peace Report. I'm Amy Goodman. Jena is a small town nestled deep in the heart of central Louisiana. Until recently, you may well never have heard of it. But this rural town of less than 4,000 has become a focal point in the debate around issues of race and justice in this country. Last December, 6 black students at Jena High School were arrested after a school fight in which a white student was beaten and suffered a concussion and multiple bruises. The 6 black students were charged with attempted second-degree murder and conspiracy. They face up to 100 years in prison without parole. The Jena Six, as they've come to be known, range in age from 15 to 70. Just over a week ago, an all-white jury took less than 2 days to convict 17-year-old Michael Bell, the first of the Jena Six to go on trial. He was convicted of aggravated battery and conspiracy charges and now faces up to 22 years in prison. Black residents say race has always been an issue in Jena, which is 85% white, and that the charges against the Jena Six are no exception. The origins of the story can be traced back to early September, when a black high school student requested permission to sit under a tree in the schoolyard where usually only white students sat. The next day, 3 nooses were found hanging from the tree. Democracy Now! Correspondent Jackie Suen has more on the story from Jena.
Black girls over there, black boys right here. Some black people standing right in the cover. All the band gets right there. White folks under the tree, and then it's like.
Jesse Beard, a freshman in high school and one of the Jena Six, took us to where the nooses were hung.
One day I just wanted to live about it. First, second day we started riding the bus, me and Robert. And we came through and I seen something hanging there. I told Robert, he looked at it, he like, some dude right there. He was getting mad. I started getting mad. By the time everybody came, they were trying to cut him down.
Robert Bailey, 17 years old and a safety receiver for the school football team, is another of the Jena Six facing life behind bars. He described his reaction to the nooses.
It was early in the morning. I seen them hanging. I'm plugging the KKK. Hanging nooses to want to hang somebody. Real nooses. Ones you see on TV, those kind of nooses. Ones that play in the movies. They were hanging out of people, and that thing dropped. That was kind of nooses. But I know somebody white that hung a noose in the tree. I don't know what the other way to put it, but I was disappointed because we do little pranks. Toilet paper. That's a prank. You know what I'm saying? Paper all over the square. All the pranks they used to do, that's pranks. Nooses hanging on nooses ain't no prank.
The school superintendent dismissed the nooses as a prank, and after 3 days suspension, the 3 white students who hung the nooses were allowed back to school. Casepla Bailey, Robert's mother, said the school did not inform the parents of the incident.
School didn't tell me. I didn't know that it happened, so therefore I didn't call to find out what happened on that particular day.
To Casepla Bailey, the meaning of the nooses was clear.
It meant hatred to the other race. It meant that we're going to kill you, you're going to die. It sent a message. This is not the place for you to sit. This is not your damn tree. Do not sit here. You are to remain in your place, know your place, and stay in your place. You're out of your boundaries. And the first thing now that the sheriff department or that the chief of police want to say that, as well as the superintendent, one had nothing to do with the other. Now, come on now.
Most people we spoke to in Jena's white community, however, see no connection between the students' charges and race. Barbara Murphy, the town librarian, claims there isn't a race problem in Jena.
We don't have a race problem. It's not black against white. It's crime. The nurses, I don't even know why they were there. what they were supposed to mean. There's pranks all the time of one type or another going on. And just didn't seem to be racist to me.
A few days after the nooses were hung, the entire black student body staged an impromptu demonstration, crowding underneath the tree during lunch hour. Justin Purvis, the student who first asked to sit underneath the tree, described how the protest came about.
It was like the first beginning, and the come said, "Y'all wanna go stand on a tree?" We said, "Yeah." They said, "You go, I'll go. You go, I'll go." One person went, next person went, everybody else just.
The school responded to the protest by calling police and the district attorney. At an assembly the same day, the district attorney Reed Walters, accompanied by armed policemen, addressed the students. Substitute teacher Michelle Rogers, one of the few black teachers at the school, was there. She recalls the DA's words to the assembled high schoolers.
The kids didn't say anything. They were listening. The kids were quiet. And so, District Attorney Reed Walters, proceeded to tell those kids that I can end your lives with the stroke of a pen. And the kids just was like in awe that Reed Walters would tell these kids that he held the pen in his hand and told those kids that see this pen in my hand, I can end your lives with the stroke of a pen.
A series of incidents followed throughout the fall. In October, a black student was beaten for entering a private all-white party. Later that month, a white student pulled a gun on a group of black students at a gas station, claiming self-defense. The black students wrestled the gun away and reported the incident to police. They were charged with assault and robbery of the gun. No charges were ever filed against the white students in either incident. Then, in late November, someone tried to burn down the high school, creating even more tension. 4 days later, a white student was allegedly attacked in a school fight. The victim was taken to hospital and released shortly with a concussion. He attended a school function that evening. 6 black students were charged with attempted second-degree murder and conspiracy to commit murder on charges that leave them facing between 20 and 100 years in jail. The defendants, ranging in age from 15 to 17, had their bond set at between $70,000 and $138,000. The attack was written up in the local paper as fact, and DA Reed Walters published a statement in which he said, "When you are convicted, I will seek the maximum penalty allowed by law."
We have come today to stand against what we consider to be a great evil.
Since their arrest, the defendants' families have been speaking out and fighting for the release of their sons. 2 of the 6, including Michael Bell.
All right, so that's the whole scenery behind what happened with the Jena Six and the incidents that took place. So again, according to one of the young men, Jena, Louisiana has always been known for its racism because it's predominantly white and black people only make up the minority. And there's a lot more opportunity with white people in that town as far as like a white collar job or which is the professional job than it is for black people. So, and it's a very small community or a small city. It's only like 4,000, 5,000. So by it being the majority of whites and the rest is black, small percentage black, that's very telling. You see, when you go into these rural towns or to the country, as we call it down here in the South, the country, you're going to see there's a lot more whites in these towns. They dominate the area, and it has a very crucial history. They have very crucial history regarding to lynching and all type of racial attacks and whatnot. That's where you find a lot of rednecks, white supremacy, honkies, crackers. You find a lot of them out there. And you want to know what's so funny? Some of them are poor white trash. Some of them are poor white trash, but they try to be racist towards you. That's the funny part about that. That's real funny. That's very hilarious right there. It's hilarious. But that's another topic for another day. However, I have a book that's dealing with that about white trash for 400 years. That's the name of the book, and I got it with me in handy. So we'll have that conversation about the white trash. But that's how it always been. When you go to these little small towns in the South, you're going to see predominantly white folks because they dominate those areas. They really do. So you have to be careful and going in certain places where there's a strong racism. You know, like Brunswick, Georgia is very racist. And many parts of other towns is racist as hell. So yeah. You're out there in the country. And you out there with them, a lot of them white folks, you're not gonna get treated fair. You ain't gonna get no racial justice. No, you're not gonna get that. But you know what? These are the conversations we gotta have. I know it's redundant. I know it's the same old song and the same old tune, and you don't want to hear it, but hey, you're going to have to hear it again because it happens over and over again. It's history repeating itself constantly every single day. So you're going to hear the same old tune. You're going to hear the same old story. Now, people don't mention much about Jena Six anymore, but it's still a part of the racism that African Americans have encountered for the past 400 years since we've been here. Now, I'm going to say this, and I've been saying it again. You didn't become American until after the Civil War and the Reconstruction era. But it wasn't until you got your citizenship after the voting rights, after the civil rights. That's when you got your citizenship. But prior to that, you were just American. And prior to being American, you were just a Negro. Racism is systemic. There's no other way to put it. It is very systemic. But anyways, that is all that I have for today. But I will come back and I will do more videos about this topic. All right. Well, not the Jena Six topic, but other topics in relation to our history. So make sure you guys stay tuned and make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, all that great stuff. So if you get a chance to, please do that. All right. And then if you want to send something to the Cash App, it's at the very bottom of the screen. As you can see, it's scrolling. So if you want to send something, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So, but again, I want to appreciate that. And thank you for those who have been subscribing. I really appreciate that a lot. That means a lot to me. Thank you. With that being said, you guys, I have to get off of here, but I will reconnect with you all later. So may peace and power elevation be to you all. Please be safe. Be careful. All right. So until next time, this is your girl Tiffany, and I'm out. Deuces.